Hi, my name is Emily. Today's video is kind of something that I want to do maybe like once a month to kind of show things that I had made in that month and talk about kind of the mistakes that I made or the things that I felt went well so that hopefully you don't make the same mistakes that I made. I'll save you the trouble and I'll make them for you. The very first thing that I've made was polymer clay since taking a break from it for about 14 or 15 years. And I made it in, I believe it was January. I finished it in January of this year. And then the second thing I started right afterwards, but I didn't finish it until like a few weeks ago. So I decided to just kind of put them both in the same video. Hopefully that's okay, even though it took, yeah, I didn't finish them just this past month. You know what I mean. So this is the very first thing that I made with polymer clay in a very long time. It's the Swan ring holder. And I don't want to tip it too much, and I will get to that in a second. You can probably guess what I did wrong here, but yeah, we'll talk about that at the end. This took me, I think, about 2 weeks or so to make. I think I started it in like mid-January, and I finished it by Valentine's Day. And I was like super inspired to make this by Justine. I hope I said that right. She makes really cute like pool trinket dishes. I see she posts on her stories her process all the time, and just the amount of work that she puts into them is incredible. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then one day my fiance lost his ring because he wears his ring even though we're not married yet. He was making pizza dough and he misplaced his ring. So and he was freaking out about it. And I was like, oh, I should make like a little ring holder for whenever we're in the kitchen and need to put stuff away. And he is a bird guy. He loves birds. So I thought I do like swans. I thought that'd be cute. So that's like the inspiration behind this. First things first, I am going to have to remake this at some point. And again, I will get to that. You probably guess why. But when I do remake this, the first thing that I want to do is with the fence, I'm thinking about maybe doing a lighter shade of brown. And also the rope is part of the mold of the fence. Let me grab the mold really quick. So this is the mold I used for the fence. It's actually a fondant mold. I got it in the bakery aisle at Michael's. So at craft stores and stuff, don't sleep on molds and cutters in the bakery aisle because they can be really helpful. They also have letter stamps too. As you can see, like the roping was part of the mold, and then they're also separated. So I did each plank individually and then like smushed them together. I like didn't fill in this gap right here. I just did this part and then I smushed them all together. And I think next time I make it, I'm either going to just scrape this part off entirely and use twine to add kind of a 3D element to it, or I might just twist like 2 pieces of clay rope together to make the rope, because you can see where it doesn't totally line up. And I do want to work on that better too next time, lining the planks up. They're a little like bulgy in certain spots because I layered 2 planks because I wanted to make sure that it was stable and sturdy. I don't like, that's like the color of paint that I had on hand, and my hands shake really bad when I'm painting, focusing on things. So like you can see, I totally messed up right there. And I just not a big fan of painting. So, and that's an awful color. It looks really bad. And then like, I think the flowers look pretty good. I used a micro flower cutter for that. I thought about doing ball flowers, but I think that would be too much. I don't know if it would look right. I think though for the grassy bits, I might line all the way around at the bottom and maybe have some parts go up into the, oh, there's something on it, go up into the area, or not the area, the cracks, because it looks a little like unfinished, I guess, down here. The swans actually didn't turn out too bad because I had to paint the faces, so the paint job's not like the best, but they don't look too bad. I used wire in the necks to keep them stable, and I wanted them to be nose to nose originally, but I kind of like, I made this part first and then I sculpted the swans, and then I was like, I love the swans so much, and then I realized they were too big. Because I feel like them crossing is a little more realistic, even though I'm not going totally for realism here. But I feel like it kind of looks a little bit better like that, and it still kind of looks like a heart. So that's fine with me. I will say though that the feathers on the swans look kind of blunt, I guess. I think I used a cutter for them, and I think they would look better if I tapered them. And I did add an extra feather onto the male swan as opposed to the female. I don't think like in real life that's not how their dimorphism works. I think the male is just like slightly bigger and has a bigger hump on his beak. But other than that, which I didn't do on this, but other than that, that was a creative liberty. But I think that I should taper these. I think it would make them look nicer, more finished, polished, whatever word you want to use. Hi, editing Emily here. I forgot to mention on this the wings, okay? They look pretty unassuming at first until you turn it around and realize that I actually put on the male swan, I put his wings on upside down. It's very subtle, but I know it's there, and now you know it's there. You're welcome. So the biggest thing that I messed up on with this is actually the resin water. So first things first, I did a layer of resin on the inside and used UV resin, and I used the lamp to cure it so that it wouldn't leak. And actually, I was pleasantly surprised. There's one tiny, tiny, tiny little leak in it, but I'm not even 100% sure where it is because it doesn't really actively leak. I don't know, it's like slowly seeping out because, again, I use UV resin, and you're supposed to work in layers with UV resin, and I just kind of dumped it all in there. I was like impatient and I didn't think about it. Like, it's kind of a duh moment, right? But I just didn't think about it, and I just wanted to finish it and see it done because I was so excited. Um, but yeah, so I made the little ring divots out of silicone putty that hardens when you mix them together. And when I pulled, I like, used the light and stuff on it. And when I pulled the molds out, it like broke the thin layer that did happen to cure. And then like all the resin started rushing in. And I was like, oh no, what do I do? And I guess like I could have just dumped it, but I didn't. So that's just raw resin just hanging out in there, which is not good to be breathing in. So I'm going to have to throw this in the trash. But I've been keeping it in a room away from people, like in a well ventilated space. So that's where it's been. And I'm just huffing it now, which is not good. Don't do that. Do as I say, not as I do. So yeah, next time what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use regular resin and I'm going to let it cure. I might use UV just for the very top layer when I put the swans in, but otherwise, yeah, the rest of it's just going to be regular resin. And one thing that ended up being a happy accident with this was I accidentally poured way too much mica powder in for the water, and it worked out really well. I actually spent a lot of time on the inside to reinforce the inside, and it looked really ugly, so I was kind of worried about it. I'll insert like progress photos right here. And the mica powder is so dark, it hides all of that, which is great. And I think that it looks kind of more realistic, like real water that way. Yeah. So, and I wanted to add more flowers in here, but I was just like, my hands were shaking so bad. I just didn't do it. But yeah, so that's the swan ring holder, the very first thing that I ever made in 15 years. 14, 15, something like that with polymer clay. And it was my first time working with UV resin as well. And you can kind of see there are some places where like there's like a glob of resin somehow got there, but yeah, so that was fun. So the second thing that I made was, I'm really proud of this one. It was a lot. Da, 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 da. My little mousy. My little mousy. Little drink. Oh, well, that's not supposed to be in there. I will show you those, but little mousy. Trinket dish. Yay! I love her. This idea actually came to me when I usually can't sleep at night most of the time. but it came to me when I was thinking about the fact that I often um, take things a little too personally and make myself sad too much, too often. And my mom had been saying to me a lot around this time, let it go. But the thought that actually gave me this idea was you're the cause of your own misery. So that's what I kind of call this piece, if you want to do that. Like I'm an autiste. The biggest thing I thought of was the water inside the umbrella. It's like I'm putting water in my own umbrella. Like, how is it going to keep me dry in the rain? How am I going to be happy if I keep making myself sad? If I keep putting water in it and dumping water over my head? So that's kind of the idea that I got for this. And I kind of like sketched it out. I thought about it for a few days and then I sketched it real roughly on my iPad because I don't know how to draw. So, like, I'll put a picture of this sketch right here. And you can kind of already see there are some differences with it. Like, originally, with my mousy lady, I had actually planned for her to be a bunny rabbit. And I sculpted a bunny. And the bunny looked really great. But then I messed up. I wanted to like do drapery with like the clothing to give it more like an airy quality and like a flow. And that's actually really hard to work with because the clay is so thin when you try to drape. Or maybe I just did it wrong. I don't know. But I had a really hard time with it. And I accidentally got chalk pastel on her too. And it was just too much of a hassle to clean. So I tried sculpting like 4 other rabbits afterwards and I could not get the bunny to like look right. I don't know what I did wrong. So it took me a few days and I just kind of was like, what if I do a mouse? And I just tried to sculpt a mouse and she turned out decent. So I was like, whatever, that's fine because I was getting really frustrated and I just wanted to get it over with. I'm probably going to remake this eventually, but um, when I first sculpted it, the rocks, you can see it, it's kind of like lopsided or whatever. Like it doesn't line up. It did line up and then I baked it and then it didn't line up anymore. So um, I don't like that. I would fix that somehow. I also don't like, I ended up like, oh, I'll just leave it plain down here and I didn't like it and it was white. So I painted it green and it looks not that great. I think I'll put like line it with grass around next time too or something. And then the same thing with like these gaps right here. I think I would put something else here. I'm not quite sure what, maybe just extra grass. I don't know. But I don't really like that. Maybe I'll just do it all the way around with the rocks. I don't like the inside very much, so I just painted this really badly with green. I think next time I'm gonna sculpt it out of green clay. Or, I mean, this isn't really sculpted, this is just cut with a cookie cutter. I don't like the inside very much. I put Let It Go on there and did some fishies. I had a different idea for how I wanted it to look, but I just wasn't working out right. I don't like the stamps really. I think next time I stamped it a little too deep. And I think I would like it better using like gold mica powder rather than painting the inside because it looks kind of sloppy to me. And it looks plain. I don't know. I think I'd just do green and then do gold lettering in the middle. Maybe add a goldfish or two. I don't know, but I'm not that pleased with that. I also had a lot of issues with the mushroom umbrella. Originally sculpted this mushroom umbrella out of translucent clay and I used chalk pastel on it. And I tried to make it, I guess, look a little realistic. And it was way too big. So I was like, oh great. The swan thing too, I don't know. I just do things, I don't think. Then I tried to do another sculpt and I didn't like the inside of this. Instead I used like this color clay and then translucent on top. And then I just didn't like it. I don't even think I baked it. Did I? Maybe I did. It was kind of hard. Whatever. I was gonna throw it away anyway. And then finally, after like I put this down for weeks. I just didn't touch it for weeks because I was getting so frustrated with it. But I finally just did this. I did white clay here and then translucent on top. And then I used chalk pastel on it. Some like dots and stuff with liquid clay for the dots. And I think it turned out like really cute. I baked the inside first, the white bit. I sculpted that, baked it first, and then I popped the translucent on top and did all the other stuff with it, and then I baked it. That way it was easier to clean off any chalk pastel that got here, and it also would keep its shape. That's what I did with this. I think it turned out really cute, and I just twisted some floral wire together and painted it green, and I glued it with some Gorilla Glue. And then I also did the same thing. I attached it in her little mousy paw with the Gorilla Glue. There's a big glob there, but whatever. Also, the log ended up sinking. It's completely hollow. You might be able to see a little bit. It's hollow. I think next time I might either wrap it around some foil pressed together, or I just might not make it hollow because, like, honestly, I don't know if that matters that much. And then also this little twiggy bit broke off, and I just reattached it with some resin. I obviously did textured grass, and the problem with it is the resin actually. It makes it look really wet, and also there are gaps where the resin wouldn't get in there. So I think next time I make it, I'm just not going to resin the grass, which kind of sucks because it does get a little like flaky, I guess, but I suppose as long as you're careful with it, it would be okay. I don't know, but I just don't like the way it looks with the resin on it when it's textured. And the other thing, so I left this middle bit white, and I used the same mica powder for the Swan's trinket, or the Swan ring holder for the water, but I used a lot less, and I really, really like how it turned out. I feel like it looks like a really fresh, like stream, freshwater stream. But it is, you can kind of see it's really white in certain spots, like in the rocks. So, like towards the edges and stuff, and like right over in here. So I think I might paint it like a really, really light blue just along the edges before I like lay the rocks and stuff down. That way it just maybe will blend a little bit better. I don't know. And then for the water looks a little weird. I originally had put in the resin in here in the UV, and I had it like kind of tilted a little, and then cured it with the light while I was holding it. So it got this like drip, this perfect, oh, here, kind of hard to show you, this perfect like drip right here. And then I used the same silicone putty to kind of create like a little channel for more to run off of. So I was just like dripping resin on it as I was curing it in the lamp, but that made it kind of flat. And also it looks a little weird. In a way, I was kind of envisioning it to be a little more like to the side, the umbrella, but I mean, that's just how it ended up. But I don't know, I guess it kind of looks a little whimsical that way. That's going to be my excuse. Although I think I would rather have it be more of a channel or something, like curved, so it's not so flat, if that makes sense. And then I used like a little skewer to make the like water droplets by like kind of using the lamp. Like I used a big glob of resin on it and then lifted up the skewer while I was holding the lamp and curing it. And then once it was starting to get a little cured, I would like twist the skewer and like pull it away. Or I'd have to like cut it with scissors because I might have waited a little too long. But that was a lot of fun. I really liked the way the little splashies turned out. This is my first time doing that. So I was really happy.
Hi, me again. I totally forgot to shout out this little froggy that I sculpted. The tiniest thing I think I've sculpted, maybe. Hard to tell. My hand's very shaky, but he's got little froggy butt cheeks. He's about the size of a dime, and if you're unfamiliar with American currency, another American unit of measurement would be a stink bug. He's so happy.
This is the second thing I made. The reason it took me so long to finish it though is because I was also working on my best friend's birthday presents, and I'll have another video on that probably next week or something. just sort of talking about what I did with that. I don't have them to show you because I gave them to her, but I do have some pictures and progress videos. So if you watched all this, thank you so much for watching. Goodbyes are always really awkward for me. But yeah, thanks for watching, and don't forget to dilly dally. That was kind of cringe. I'm sorry. I won't do that again.